Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Almost ready. 23 seconds. How do you feel?
I feel fine.
Good. Do you have any water?
No, that's my drink.
You just have alcohol? Okay. Um, Hi everyone. Hospital. Those of you who don't know who this is Stacy. And Stacy is my partner in everything, as well as this podcast. And the purpose of what we're doing is to give you our personal update and to share certain aspects of our life with you, because if we could have had someone that would do the same for us, it would have shortened a lot of things for us. So we are going to touch on a few topics. Um, if not, then we're going to be basically talking to air. Doesn't scare, intimidate us. We are streaming on Facebook and we are streaming on YouTube. So let me start off by introducing myself formally. My name is Allison Beckford, and I am a business owner and her wife. I am also a veteran of the United States Army. So some of our conversations are going to include that I have actually contacted. It's coming, you need to have this conversation with me. Um, Also, I am at home with our dog, so occasionally you're going to hear a bark, a yip, maybe a howl, depending on Lex's mood. And we are, much of our last almost, yeah, 4-ish years has been spent focused on Stacy's being, on, how we can cope with that and get to. And aside from that, life is good. I mean, anytime you wake up and you plant your feet on this side of the ground, we should always show some gratitude for it. And we do. Now,
Those for that don't know me, I'm Stacy, and this is my Allison, of course, my wife. I was a former nurse. I'm no longer a nurse after I broke my back, and after I broke my back, I decided that we were going to work for ourselves. But seeing how after I broke my back, I started having surgery, seizures after seizures, and going through multiple doctors to know how to think outside the box. And unfortunately, I don't like to be put in a box. I don't like to be put in a circle, and I just don't like to be labeled. So today we're going to kind of talk about and recap. I don't know if some of you guys saw our little doodad thing on my head, which is called the EEG. I'm doing okay. I have my days. I have days that are really bad. I still suffer from really bad back pain, headaches. I still suffer from seizures because we really just don't know what triggers them. We do know some specific things that do trigger it, and some things that don't. We're at a crossroads now that we are taking actions to how to fix my back. We're still looking at different doctors to have second eyes, third eyes, to look at my case and see where we can go. Many different issues to our audience. Not only do we want to bring up what our issues are, what we want to talk about, but hopefully we have listeners that will join in and ask questions or concerns that they might want to talk about. And it's not just going to be all doom and gloom, And I get bored. I'd be like, we want to have fun with it, and but as far as
felt actually participating in Taco Tuesday.
Oh, we have to love Taco Tuesday.
Well, yeah.
Everybody loves Taco Tuesday.
I hope so.
Well,
But
I do.
but from your perspective, how did you feel going up there? Were you comfortable?
I was safe and I was comfortable and I felt good. I didn't feel tired. Feel
So
my
you
usual.
you didn't get your usual.
I didn't get my usual no, which
Okay.
is, a weird feeling. I didn't feel out of place, out of touch. This time it just came on all of a sudden. And for those that just don't understand, there's certain auras that we get. We feel out of body, or we feel almost disconnected.
Okay.
Sometimes we feel like we're in a tunnel, or sometimes we have double vision. And there's many different other ways that people can feel confused, dizzy. But mine came on all of a sudden, and before I could get it out, it's when I had it.
What I can say is I was actually returning to the table, and we were seated outside. This was at one of our favorite establishments, which we are going to mention in our description. We kind of, just so that you know, we do promote things that we use, that we eat. We don't, we are not being paid for it. We just want to show appreciation for it. So we were at the Whole Enchilada in Winter Garden, and we were outside sitting on the cobblestone, and one of the precursors, she'll tell me she doesn't feel well, she'll feel good, she feels odd, she's not able to gather her thoughts, to focus really well. And as I was there, we were there with her service dog Lex, which we'll show later. Lex was very, very agitated. He couldn't sit still. He wouldn't sit still. He kept getting up, moving around, telling us in his way how he felt. Well, her medicine as she was supposed to, if in the event of seizure activity or anything inclination that says that. And it didn't take even a minute. It took long enough for me to get up and get around the 4-seater round table, and before I was halfway around, she was already on the ground convulsing, and she hit that ground hard. I'm grateful though that she landed on her shoulder and not straight on her head. And she proceeded to have 5 seizures there. I don't know, and I would stop right here and say it, I don't know who the couple was that helped me, but I'm very grateful to them. He was extremely kind. I do know his first name was Jason. I don't know his partner's name. And she offered to help. Jason and I kind of had it. He was on with 911, and I was holding Stacy's head. But the thing that really stands out for me is Winter Gardens Police Department came just a little bit before EMS got there, I think. Or let's just say they came at the same time, because that's when I registered seeing them. And they were actually kind of obstructing. So I'm grateful for that as well. They took her to Winter Gardens Advent Health, and the doctor there was, I like her because she was pragmatic. She was straight to the point. The emergency doctor. She said, we need to get this stable. And then she asked me, she made a point of telling me that they did not have long-term or anything was showing up in the head. So,
let me ask a question.
okay.
So what have you learned or getting out of this situation or this issue that we are having? What have you learned from the hospital when I stay? What do you get out of this? What are you learning from this?
I learned that in every category and criteria that you just mentioned, the thing that stands out to me is extremely how different and how similar they are. And what do I mean by that? Like anything else, there's some doctors that are absolutely incompetent and they really ought not to have bothered to incur the debt of going to medical school. And on the flip side of that, you have other doctors that you're like, wow, the excellence comes through. I mean, the ability, in my opinion, to, and then after they've stabilized you, now they're a solution of some sort. On the other hand, you have those other doctors that, you know, they'll come in and you already see their arrogance, and they've read your chart because we're talking about you being in the hospital actively since 2021, height of the pandemic. And the interesting thing to me is the way they treat you and the way they ignore me. And I don't know if it's because we are a same-sex couple, but I think it's a personality disorder in them.
Do you, see, and I think it's because, I guess me being in the medical field previous, is that I cannot get any neurologist to commit 100%. And I would even say 85% that I am having either epileptic or non-epileptic or both. But see, so they say I present video that I'm having epileptic, but they can't find it on the EE machine. By the way, is ancient.
Oh, it's archaic, absolutely.
And they will not 100% say that I'm having epileptic. But when you look on the video, so they're conflicting, but they don't want to try other methods or other means to help figure this out. So I think that when I go to, if you're not diagnosed with epilepsy, the emergency room, the first responders, they think it's a psychiatric issue, or they don't treat it. They don't treat you like they should.
Oh, so you're saying, and I am interrupting. So you're saying that you feel that they base too much of their diagnoses in a mental health arena instead of looking at the physical.
Correct. Yeah, they don't take it serious, is what I'm trying to say. They don't take it serious.
Okay.
If not diagnosed, they don't take it serious.
Well,
So therefore they're just gonna. In my case, it feels that they just they've checked all their boxes. We don't know what else to do, and they're just gonna pawn us off.
well,
I mean, we've even had a doctor tell us that first he's gonna just put it up, you know what, because you should not tell any patient that. So, so what is your greatest fear going through this with me?
oh,
What your experience
Oh,
going
wow.
through this with me, and what would you tell other people that don't have epilepsy, but in their immediate family member, that they have to go through it with them?
okay, I understand the question, and those of you that heard that, that's a whole Stacy-ism right there that just occurred. What she is, how do I feel while she's in the midst of one of her seizures, and what would I tell others that have the unfortunate, you know, opportunity, for lack of a better word, of being the advocate for their loved one. What have I learned? I have learned that I am a lot stronger than I knew, and I already knew I was a strong individual. I just did not know how much of a test it would be, because there is nothing that I've ever encountered that will or has highlighted, spotlighted, and from like this. Now, this has highlighted whenever seizure, this has highlighted just how much and how fast your heart can go and how helpless and how heavy that feels when you're not able to.
Just so you know, I'm not trying to cut her off, but I just don't have grand mal seizures or clonic tonic, as they now call them. I have silent seizures.
Oh yeah.
Where you stare off into space.
She has seizures that cause her to lose time, and they come in small forms and they come in large forms. I'm going to use the layman example and description because the medical terms keep changing. I'll finish. The medical terms keep changing, but it doesn't change the degree of fear that 0 to 100 my heart goes. Why? Because this is the most incredible position to be in, because in the military they teach you to value service, to give service without expectation, but when you can't do anything, they didn't teach you that part. They didn't teach you how to actually stand there and watch her body go through what I've actually estimated and labeled to be 250 pounds of, and that's 250 pounds of pressure when because going through her that's causing her to do this, either cellular or physical, they all seem to have the same one conversation. Oh, this is not working for me, so let me identify it by having a seizure. So her whole body goes into this ridiculously extended and fully flexed. And it literally takes the ability of at least 4 grown men, and you have to be at least 220 pounds, and you better be 6 foot to handle that. And I'm thinking, whenever it happens, most of the time when it happens, it's just me and my mom. And my mom's 85, about a good, I don't know, 100 or so feet inside. So she had the unfortunate task of hearing me yell from in the kitchen. She came from the porch into our kitchen in time to take a hold of Stacy's feet, because if her feet were not contained in some way, she'd spend the time pounding the floor while she was in her seizure. And that particular seizure that I'm talking about was 2 minutes and 7 seconds long. Now, let me tell you something. Open her mouth and say who she is, and say what she's feeling, and say what's going on. An example of that happening from July 1st of 2021 all the way down to the last one that she had. It ended the 17th of May, which was last Friday. They discharged her. Now, compound that on the body's ability to adapt and deal with that. How exhausting is that to her? How bad does that feel? So when you're asking me what have I learned and what I would tell someone, is I'll tell someone you're going to have to detach yourself emotionally, especially when it's partners, relatives, and so forth that have to deal with it. And they have all said, and they continue to say, the one thing, how helpless and depressed. It's an interesting scenario. It's like having a cocktail with vodka and bitters. It doesn't quite go so good, but you drink it because of the alcohol percentage. I feel that they make their money with treatment and they lose money with a cure. I really believe that. And that's that hasn't changed.
Us, but she's sitting there with her drink and her straw going, mm-hmm. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, it's it's kind of the sum total of everything. But let me ask you this. I have 2 questions for you, and I use ChatGPT to ask these questions because, no offense, this AI software causes of seizures after major surgery in adults.
There, okay.
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 Now, the reason I posed, you spent all that time going through, you ought to know something. Well, let me phrase that and be a little bit more specific. You ought to know is to make you find a solution.
And you didn't say you weren't.
Well,
smart.
well, the thing is, over the course of all of this, Stacy started having seizures after she had major back surgery in 2012, and they've progressively become horrible. They're horrendous. And you know, we've had people that we've considered closer than family that, what do you think the symptoms would be that your body starts to share with you in order to bring attention to the fact that you're having pain? Now, we're going to do another show later on, and I'll have two of our friends on at the same time talking about this and their perspective, and also to their field, and in her case, her specifically. And also to, maybe I'll get an answer to my usual question, which is, why can't our health system be like the VA? Why can't it? What's the problem? Again, is it a case of it's better to treat and definitely not better to cure?
Yeah.
So I'm saying all of that to come down to this point, that we have had to create our own version of the Mayo Clinic, if you will. And what that is a combination of a primary care doctor that is actually focused on helping and curing Stacy, a neurologist that's willing to do what needs to be done while still following the standard protocol of what goes on in the neuro sphere, and then my two favorite people. My two favorite people are Stacy's orthopedic doctor, but he looked at her, this has never healed. And he didn't say, this has been 23. We saw him in November of last year. So technically it was how many years ago since you had it? 10. That in his mind and happened. So the ball was dropped. Now, after all of that, now he has to go through the steps which our wonderful insurance people have created. Again, treat, not cure. So they have decided that you have certain steps to follow. So Stacy had to do physical therapy.
No. Steroids.
No, physical therapy and steroids.
No, you have to take steroids first.
Okay.
Then you do physical.
And then, what is it, pain injections?
Yeah, but I was just like, no, I'm not doing that.
Well, the thing is that it kind of is a Band-Aid.
It's a mute point.
Yeah, but it's a Band-Aid. It doesn't work. It doesn't help. It's a waste of time. And I always wonder, why do they want to do that? So now, I really am. Saw the neurologist yesterday. Nice guy. Fascinating area. Didn't know that was part of neurology either, but it is. So he goes ahead and he tests her nerves and so on and so forth.
Oh, by the way, I don't have full feeling in my room.
So he says that this is not the test for you because it shows that makes sense. So basically, the way it is an injection into her lower back to literally
put the dye in the nerves.
Yeah, in your spine is where it's going to go. He wants an injection into her spine, and he wants to be able to insert some. I call it clarification dye because why else would you put it in there? Because it is clarification dye. So it's supposed to attach itself to whatever else is in there and kind of like brightens it, like illuminates the whole thing. So he says that's the test that will actually tell them and give them a clear example as to why maybe nerve A doesn't go all the way down to Z like it's supposed to at the end of it. So it's only stops or M somewhere along there. So that's in essence what he wants to do. And I'm thinking, okay, and based on the result of that and whatever they gather from that test, then she may or may not have to have major corrective surgery, which will be a good thing because then it reduces trauma. It also reduces the, all the other stuff that happens. That's it in a nutshell of where we are. And It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a stress on everything. It is. It's a stress on everything because imagine if she had to go out to work. How many jobs would actually be like, oh no, you need to stay home because you're not 100%. How many places would do that? And if you find someplace that let me know because I'd like a backup job doing that. The other thing is
providing or you're not helping to provide because just one seizure knocks you, and then the older you are, of course, it just knocks you down. It just takes so much energy, and your body is so sore, and it just takes a lot out of you. And then you feel guilty because, I don't know about y'all, but my taught me how that, look, you have to keep your house clean because you don't ever know who's going to come over unannounced, and your house always should stay clean. And so I like a clean house, and there a lot of here lately I haven't been able to do that because I just don't have the energy for it. And with my back, I pay for it the next day. And so with my issue is, and what I'm going through is that she has reported some of them, and I've watched them, and I can just only imagine because I made myself watch them. So I would
did
know.
you do that?
Because I want to know. But I can't drive. She won't let me do anything. I can't go to the bathroom by myself.
Well,
but I understand.
When you say I won't let you do
Well,
anything, you need
I need to clarify.
Thank you.
I understand because she's afraid that if I have a seizure and she's not in the room, she's not gonna be able to get to me fast enough. Because there has been a couple of times where she hasn't been in the room or heard me call for her, and she hasn't been there, and so she feels guilty.
Oh yeah.
But she shouldn't.
Absolutely.
But she feels guilty. So
I shouldn't.
But it just takes a toll on everybody all around in the family, and the person that's having it, and the person that's going through with the person that's having it. And I just wish that there was more of a society, or there was more of a medical group really pushing. We push for, cancer is a big, huge thing, and I'm not knocking cancer because my grandmother had it, and my grandfather died of it, and my granddad died of it, and, there's not enough information, and there's not enough pull on epilepsy. There's just not.
Well, there's not enough pull on seizures because what I disagree with, and it comes from a lot of reading, and it comes from a lot of research. Why should we have to rely on getting a second opinion or third opinion at places like the Mayo Clinic and why can't medicine be taught as collective? For example, I know it's a television show, but on The Resident, they have a diagnostician. They have someone that comes in and diagnoses the individual before them, because a textbook is not going to be the source of a diagnosis.
But you know what, though? It shouldn't. And here's where I've noticed. Mom talked about
Mom
it.
is in my mom.
Yes, Mom. Medicine is not like it used to be. It's more for, let's see how much money we can get out of these people. It's not about taking care of anybody now. I mean, we don't take your insurance, so you're in the emergency room. The first people to come see you 9 times out of 10 are the people that are trying to collect your money.
They're really just visit. Well, I'm happy to say we haven't had a copay to do it because she's been in the hospital so many times it kind of rolls over from year to year.
The point is that they don't. The doctors don't take they're all out for, most of them, not all of them, but most of them. Many of them are out for just the paycheck, or or they'll say, and I've worked for doctors' offices, or I've heard of doctors in doctors' offices say, well, I don't want to take that insurance because I don't get enough payback from that insurance. And that's so sad, because then,
and have someone else think it through, and that will be it.
But we're just ranting, and we would love to hear what you have to say, and sometimes we just want to get on here and just shoot the shit and talk about different things, but mostly we'd like to have at least one good to talk about, and answer questions, or love to have a good conversation with somebody that would like to get on and talk with us. And like she said, we are going to have our friends on and discuss some things with them as well.
Oh yeah. But also too, you need to and I know we've been saying but I think it's better than
we're gathering our thoughts. Gather.
I think the best thing would be, if you're interested, is to have a chat with us. But we would definitely have you to get your point across and get your feelings out, because that's really what this is to get feelings out. I have some are out, some have retired, some I knew before they went in, some I knew while they were in, and they have all gone on to do new and different things. I have friends, I actually have one friend, and she knows who she is. I have one friend that actually had, and she's a stubborn old lady. Watch your step going down, please. Sideways. Yeah, I know you're talking, but she is a friend that I know who has attended school, graduated from school, and gone into her field of education and stayed in it. And I've known attorneys that have done that, but they're no longer attorneys. I have known doctors that have done that are no longer doctors, and architects that have done that. I have a friend that's an architect that actually is a DJ, makes more money DJing than being an architect. It wasn't his passion, so I think you approach things differently when it's not your passion. But let's roll on over, and that was Lex. Let's roll on over and talk about some relationships. I want opinions, and I want your opinion. So, how good is a
relationship should have boundaries?
The thing that I'm curious about is you literally can change the way you feel, the way you are, by first changing your mind and making a decision for it. And the reason I'm asking that question is because of this. I've been reading, I always read. And I've been reading, and I've been rereading something. And I am looking around, and I like watching the human, stop shaking, she's like twitching. But I like watching the human experiment, if you will. And I've watched people who are responsible for the good things that happen to them, and that are responsible for, if you watch this on the replay or if you're watching it live, I want you to write down 3 questions. If you don't want to do it live with us, then just send it to us through Messenger, or send it to us on YouTube. And let me know what you think people could think themselves out of. And I'll give you an example. I think people can think themselves out of a certain degree of, but based on what you'll accept and what you'll tolerate. And I think that goes to with how people will talk to you, how they'll treat you. So other topics that we are always talking about, physical health, mental, and some frivolous, that's what I think. And I think we should do that because I feel that our civilization.
Sexuality of books.
And she said she didn't
And the
talk about
statue,
politics.
this morning, I'm listening to my news because, she's all about news.
I am about
The statues that
news.
have been there for centuries at the, like the museums and stuff that have the penises and the vaginas with the little leaf over it, they're offended. Okay, anyway, that's my
So
rant.
that's the homework. So that's the homework. Get your thoughts together. Just write us
Poor
questions,
kids,
send
these
them
poor
in.
kids.
Well, the thing too is, if you truly really want to ban something,
These days,
I
the
do
better they
too.
are, they're gonna be better off for it. Anyway, so
we're getting ready to end.
yes.
And what we're going to end with is a couple positive things. The quote that I love the most, and I say it especially when there are times that it gets a little cloudy in my headspace, and I say it. It is practice makes permanent. And the other one that I like is success is the best revenge. First time I heard that, Oprah Winfrey said that. And then I've discovered another one because I'm a movie buff, and it says victory has its purpose. And I think that's kind of interesting. So we are always up for an intelligent conversation, and most of the time they're unfiltered. And we are accessible through Facebook. We are accessible through YouTube. And those of you that do pray, please pray. Those of you that love to send out thoughts and prayers, send out thoughts and prayers. Those of you that just have thoughts, have your thoughts. The next time that we get on here, I want us to talk about what Garden is a bookstore that has all the banned books that governor wants to ban. I challenge him to sit down and actually read a chapter out loud without stumbling over the words. That's just me.
Okay.
Anything else, my love?
On this end note, I want everybody, including men, tomorrow when you wake up, I want you to say, I am sexy.
And I know it.
And I know it. All right, guys. Hopefully we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks.
Thank you for tuning in.
What was that you said in softness? Did you give the sadness a favor? And for it a bit because he doesn't know what he has. That's why he's walking all sorts of undone sexual stuff.